Welcome back, viewers. Eric the Car Guy here with part B, part 2 of the second installment of the Day at the Shop with Eric the Car Guy. There was just too much of it to fit into one episode, so we split it up into 2 parts. I think you'll find by the end of the episode why I did that. There's just way too much going on with Barbara's van to cover in the other episode. But I won't take up too much of your time. I'll let you get to it, and I'll see you again at the end of the episode. Once again, I would like to thank Car Part Kings for supplying the parts for this repair. There will be a link in the description, and you can go there yourself and purchase your own parts for your AC repairs. No, seriously, they're cool. Yeah, I'll put links in the description to all kinds of stuff. So before you start going off saying, Eric, what about this? What about that? Check the description. I'm asking myself, can I replace this receiver dryer that's way down in there without removing this brace above the radiator? And the conclusion that I'm coming to is probably, but would it be worth the effort just to remove it anyway? Conclusion, maybe not. Maybe all I need to remove is this, because it looks like I have access right flipping there. So maybe, just maybe, we'll make something easy on Barbara's van. Check it out. It's right there. I'm going to try to figure out this fitting. And I need to find the correct size wrench. From the looks of it, what we have here, and this has that same rubber thing on the top of it, so it's just some goofy valve. It looks like it will unscrew from its mount. So I have to find some way to hold it in place, and then the same size fastener that I can use to move it off the top. Our purple light, it reveals the dye that you can see was coming out this fitting. And actually, when I took the cap off, you could see it bubbling up out of that valve. So it was just bubbling right out. That might be it. This is what I was afraid of. And that line, if I'm gonna take it off, the way it's buried in there, I might as well get a new line. Well, I think I got a plan. And I think I'm actually gonna go so far as to remove this engine mount so I can get better access. For that, I'll have to get this on the lift and support it. Sigh. I mean, really, think about it. A bolt and a nut, okay? It goes through. Making them both the same size means that you have to have 2 of the same tool. Yeah. Thankfully it's not broken. Worn, but not broken. Okay, well, plot thickens. Looks like the only way I'm going to get that fitting off of there is to take the line off. And the only way to take the line off is to take the alternator out and the bracket for the alternator. Otherwise, I'm never going to get back in there. So, we're now going to remove the alternator to get an AC line off, just like we had to move the engine mount to get stuff out. At what point does it end? I can't do nothing with this because this van has rear AC. And what that means is, well, in this van, is this line doesn't just go from the receiver dryer over to this evaporator. It branches off from the evaporator and goes all the way back to the rear AC. You couldn't have just put a regular Schrader valve in. I mean, seriously, all you had to do was put a Schrader valve in it. Instead, you have to make this Rube Goldberg setup that is just completely unserviceable. Completely unserviceable. Because if you try to twist that fitting out of that line, you're going to break the line. And if you break the line, you got to replace half the AC system, it looks like. Well done. Well done. You made your vans disposable. Remember what I didn't want to take out? For one valve. Looking at this, I don't even think this comes off of here. It sure doesn't look like this. This isn't going anywhere without a line now. All this for this. Thank you, Chrysler. Thank you, sir. May I have another? And we're back. Hey, kids. So the day in the life didn't necessarily conclude as a day. As we last left it, Barbara's van is still sitting here all apart, and I went hunting for the part to replace, which was a very difficult process. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But anyway, I have the part to fix this. I couldn't leave you hanging with this repair, fixing it forward, all that kind of thing. So technically, this is no longer a day in the life. This is a couple of days in the life of Eric the Car Guy. Anyway, I'll probably bitch about the part while I'm working, but I'm going to get working. I'm also trying a new set of gloves today. These are the EXO series, punch you in the face style of gloves that we have. I actually do feel like I want to punch something with these, so we'll see. All right, well, I couldn't leave the van on the hydraulics of the lift, so I positioned a floor jack and everything over here to hold the engine up, because that block wasn't quite long enough to hold the engine up. Now we're going to put things back the way they were and get that floor jack out of the way so I can actually work instead of being poked by a floor jack. Here I am resting on my fists now. Actually, feel nothing, so I like these punch you in the face gloves. Thank you, Chrysler, for being such a pain to work on. I'm saying that as if I were Jimmy Fallon, reading my thank you letters. All right, let's talk about this part a little bit. I was on the phone for quite a bit with Car Part Kings, who supplied us with the receiver dryer and also those other fittings that were going to go together. And actually, I thought the other line that they sent me was going to be this line, but it wasn't. And they could not find this line, period. Just was not available in the aftermarket at all. So went to my local Dodge dealer, and they found one locally. In fact, just across the river, I'm in Cincinnati. They found one down in Covington or Newport or something like that. Anyway, they found one down there, and they had it delivered to their dealership. Well, when it was delivered to their dealership, that was all that was in the bag. The bag was open, and this is all that was in it. This is only part of it. This part was missing, and luckily on a whim, the parts guy that was there just ordered another one, and the other one came with our second piece. So there is good news in this. And then as you can see over here, we're going to actually be able to install this thing in two parts rather than one part. We are going to have to swap over the pressure switch, but it looks like everything else is going to go together, and I'll be able to install this part in the back and then connect this part up for the rest of it. So I'm kind of happy about that. It should be an easier installation, but getting this part has been challenging. And I think we'll start with getting this pressure switch off and our good friend, penetrating oil. A good place to start, I think. Brian's all like, I hope that comes off of there. And he got a look for that. Well, it came off of there, and we are fortunate that it did so. Yay. Can get out of my life. Go on, get. Go away mad. Just go away. I actually have to praise Chrysler here for a moment. I know, right? I was thinking the same thing. Did I just say that? They made it so that you can change the pressure switch. They put a Schrader valve in there without having to evacuate the entire system. Okay. So what's your problem with the valve? Huh? That's what I want to know. I mean, you go through all the trouble to do this, but yet, I'm keeping this valve, by the way. You go through all the trouble to do this, but yet you can't do the same thing with the actual high pressure valve, so that I don't have to go through all this. I may complain a lot during this repair. Don't take it personally. It's got nothing to do with you. But just with my angst with working on this particular vehicle. Ugh. Gotta go get me some refrigerant oil. Always lubricate O-rings before installation, whatever. I need to get a new vise. I know I've got all these awesome tools and I'm still fighting with my vise. Look how crusty that is. I guess this has been sitting on the shelf for a while. And that's just straight up corrosion. Like just sitting on the shelf. Sigh. Hopefully the inside doesn't look like that. Half tempted to just blow it out with some compressed air just to be sure. Guess it's all right. I don't see chunks flying out. I just have to remember how this all went together. Okay, so this is eventually going to be in there like this. You know what? That actually just made things really easy. I just have to fish this down in there. I keep looking for excuses to use these. Shut up. I know what you were thinking. Well, I know what some of you were thinking. And guess what? That worked. I'm having trouble believing it, but the first part is already in there. Like, in there. All right, that part's hanging down. That'll be fine. I think what I'll do is take the nut that held that on there. I'm trying to remember which one of these it was. I think it was this one. And reinstall it so that this part is complete. Really, really liking these. A couple of these ground connections that were up here also. Receiver dryer. I'm having another thought here. I believe I have this line. I believe they sent me this line, and rather than just having it sit and do nothing, I think I'll also replace that because it just loops around here and connects to the condenser. Yeah, it's that line. We have it. What am I going to do with it? System's opened up already. Might as well replace this new too. Have I mentioned I've been loving these T-handles? You know, this is a day in the life of Eric the Car Guy. The truth of the matter is, there's hundreds of thousands of technicians out there all over the world going through the same or worse on a daily basis, trying to make a living. I should keep that in mind. It's gonna go away to a better place. That'll do. Those of you that might be wondering what a receiver dryer is and what it does, is it's a component in the AC system that helps remove any moisture that might be present. It contains a desiccant. It's very similar to that stuff that you find when you buy like a electronics or stereo equipment, that little thing, that little package that says do not eat. Well, that's there to absorb moisture. This is filled with similar stuff because moisture in the AC system can compromise its cooling ability. So they put the desiccant, as it's called, in there in something like a receiver dryer, and it helps remove that moisture. I'm feeling underneath here like when I've got this together, and I still feel this gap, and I think that this is cocked to one side and it's not. It's fine. It just feels like it's out of place just because of the design of this. There's that step that's there. It won't fit completely flush. Finally. All right, now what? Got to get that line that goes from back there to here. I'm going to put this other line on last because it does interfere with the top, or access to the top of the receiver dryer. So now I will put that next section in. So, I mean, well done Chrysler for coming up with a better way, because getting that out had me, well, certainly concerned. Haha, better way. Just dip it. And look, what we came for, that stupid rubber valve that they put down inside there that is not replaceable other than replacing the line. Now, they did get smart and make it so that you could just replace a section of line like this, but they don't sell it like this. You got to buy the whole thing, which is why this was robbed out of the other bag. Line now secure. I got the wrenches in my hand. I might as well go down underneath and take care of this guy. The AC system is almost sealed again. Almost. A couple of lines and I should have it. Almost looks like I won. Almost. But at what cost? Now what? I suppose I could start putting all this back together. Get my engine mount, get my alternator back in there. That's been MIA for a while. Here's a tip. Whenever you see an alternator with one of these sleeves in there, like you often do, getting this back installed when you're either installing a new alternator or putting the old one back in will be difficult if that's at the clearance that it is now. But if you knock it back just a couple of taps, it'll give you just enough clearance for this to slide right in. Here's the deal. Through bolt goes down through the bottom of the alternator that holds it into place. That thing I just moved so I could slip that down in there. Fits around there. There's a bolt that goes through. There's a nut on one side, on the other. But as soon as I move the alternator forward to install the top fastener to hold it into place, what's going to happen is I'm no longer going to have access underneath to that nut that's on the back side. I do have access now. So I'm going to tighten this down. And then I'm going to pull the whole thing forward and attach the top. That's how I'm going to do it. I'm not going to try to fight with it after it's already down there and in place. One that goes through, one that goes up on top, and one that slides in from underneath. Well, it's one way to do it. Liking these more every day. These are becoming like my favorites. In the process of installing the engine mount, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe you should have put that serpentine belt on before you put that engine mount in there. All right, well, I think I'll do exactly that. I feel like an artist using these. They don't come apart when they're like down into a tight spot and you pull away. They're not, you don't drop half the extension down in there. It's like a solid positive feedback, so there's no like slop in the connection where it meets the universal and then where it meets the socket. It's like a real positive feel. And I've been just experimenting, using them more, and I like them more and more the more I use them. Oh, I guess my light's gone. Oh well. We weren't getting along anyway. We were so not getting along. Frickin' hate you, light. You know that. Moving on. The system is once again sealed. Yay. Been waiting a long time for this part. Oh yeah. This thing sucks. Thank you. I'll be here all week. I know somebody out there is going to be like, no, Eric, there is no such thing as suck. There's only an absence of atmospheric pressure. Okay, you're right. But it just doesn't sound as funny to say, this thing creates an absence of atmospheric pressure. Doesn't sound right at all. That sucks. We're gonna let that sit on there for a while. System was open a little bit. Gotta get all the moisture out. Then we'll let it sit, make sure it's sealed. And then we'll recharge it. And then hopefully, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Our little vacuum pump's been running for a little bit. Brian and I just got back from lunch. Close out the valves. I'm gonna let it sit for a few minutes. I know the system was sealed before. I'm just gonna be double sure now and just close these off and give it 15 minutes or so just to make sure that it can hold the vacuum. If it can hold a vacuum, then it can hold a charge. If it can't hold a vacuum, there's a leak somewhere that we need to address. And we did disconnect and reconnect quite a few things. There's the possibility that there is a leak somewhere. Been about 20 minutes or so. We're still at 20 minus 29 inches of mercury, which is about what I expect. So I'm good. Let's put some refrigerant in here. First, I'm gonna make sure that my line is all out of the way of stuff, which it is. I don't want that getting tangled up in the belt down there. 3 of these cans should do it. It took 2.1 pounds of refrigerant before. These are 12 ounces a piece, so I have 36 ounces here, so not quite all 3 of these would do the trick, according to my calculations, which I hope are correct. I hope they are. All right, hopefully you come to life. Oh yeah, perch the line a little bit. Get rid of the air. Just kicked on. So it can still work. I think that can's out. When you're putting it in with cans like this, it makes it really hard to judge exactly how much is going in. You just kind of have to look at the pressures and cross your fingers a little bit. Ooh, that's some nice looking pressures there. Like right there, where it is. It's colder. Shop temp right now is about 81 degrees. All right, we got it to come down to about 60 degrees, but the longer it runs, the warmer it gets. And it's coming back to that high side pressure. Every time the cooling fans kick on, that high side pressure comes way down. Whereas when the fans are not on, the high side pressure stays up in a nice place, and I think that it actually functions more efficiently. I think whatever controls the fans is sort of messing us up a little bit because they're not allowing it to cool as efficiently. I mean, you want to see higher high side pressures. I mean, the system is now full, but I think if I'm going to hazard a guess, I'm going to say that it's something having to do with the fans, but it's still cooling 20 degrees. Just wish it was better. And all that work for one little line, well, one little valve, I should say. It was actually colder when we first got in, before we started checking the temperature, before I raised the idle. Like at idle, it seems fine. Maybe because I'm raising the idle, it's telling the computer to do something different with the cooling fans. And those cooling fans may not come on while you're driving down the road at that RPM. So maybe that's what we'll do. We'll disconnect the system, we'll go driving down the road as if we're operating the van normally and see what the vent temperatures are then. It's worth a shot. This high side pressure, on a day like today, I want to see it up towards 250, not down around 150, that's too low. And if the cooling fans aren't on, it's up there, but as soon as the cooling fans turn on, it comes down. This low side is pretty good, like somewhere between 20 and 30 is nice. It can go as low as 10, but and that may have something to do with the expansion block too, which I'm kicking myself because I just bolted a new line to the expansion block. A lot of you come to me and you're like, there's a problem with my AC. And one of the first things that I always say, take it to a professional. This is why. Because there's so many things on top of things on top of things that can go wrong with AC systems. And they often cause issues like this. And they're often expensive. If you tally up all the work and parts that we've thrown at this up to this point, it's well over $1,000 just for the AC. That doesn't count any of the other stuff at all. Which is probably your motivation for wanting to do your own AC work. I get it, but even a quote-unquote experienced person like myself has days like today where we go through all this trouble, all this work, all this effort, not only in getting the old parts out, but just getting the parts to install, and then to have results like this where we're only cooling about 20 degrees. I'm disappointed by that, gotta say. I need an AC recovery machine is what I need. I've gotta do it right. So I gotta recover what's in here, start over. I'm about done with that. As soon as we turned on the rear AC, the temperature starts coming down considerably. In fact, it went down about 10 degrees just by turning it on back there. That's interesting. But it is much cooler. In fact, now it's down below 60. Now we're at 55. Okay, well, I may be able to live with this. Let's wrap this video up because you've gotten more than you paid for. Well, actually, that's a day and a half in the life of Eric the Car Guy. Not exactly just a day, but I couldn't leave you hanging on what was happening with this, especially with it all laying apart. It was quite an effort to get the parts. I'd like to give a special shout out to Car Part Kings and thank them. I'll put a link down in the description for them supplying us with things like the receiver dryer and one of those lines for this repair. I guess it goes like this: no good deed goes unpunished. And Barber's van is just one of those vehicles that you just hate seeing roll up to the shop. We'll continue the saga, not today, however. You got your day and a half. We did have some things get fixed and leave here, including the Accord from the last video. We're all set. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. And I'm going to say, if you have automotive questions not covered in this video, I'm going to ask you to head over to EricTheCarGuy.com. Welcome video there to tell you about the stuff to help you. If you wish to connect with me socially, Google+, Facebook, Twitter, also Instagram, links below. And I close each of my videos with be safe, have fun, and stay dirty. I will see you next time.